Every day you hear AI, 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 AGI, ASI. AI will take eventually all jobs. It will automate all labor away so that humans don't have much left to do. There's a lot of overhype, plenty of sensationalism and hyperbole in those types of statements. But as Google's DeepMind CEO Demis Hassabis says, in the short term, AI is overhyped. In the long term, it is underhyped, and I agree. And many other experts agree. Machine learning engineers, prompt engineers, software developers, software engineers, they know, we know, it's not overhyped in the long term. That is, we can see clearly, thanks to the scaling laws and the fact that AI is evolving, improving exponentially, what will happen in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on years from now, based upon the progress we've seen just in the less than 3 years since ChatGPT became a household name. When people say AI, they're talking about LLMs, large language models, usually, even though there are smaller models that were trained on the larger models, and Gen AI, generative AI, not algorithms, which is a type of AI, comes from machine learning. That's what makes TikTok and Instagram, which copied that, and YouTube Shorts, they all copied TikTok's algorithmic progress. They're a very effective algorithm, but we won't go into that. We're going into AI as most people know it now, generative AI, even though, as you'll see in this presentation, it gets more complicated than that. We'll deal with conversational AI, reasoners, AI that simulates reason. We'll go into agents. What does the agentic framework mean? And eventually, we will have innovators, AI that can innovate like a human, perhaps better than a human. We see evidence of that now. And AGI, generality, a system that can do all of the tasks that a given average human can do. And that is cognitively, in the form of digital AI, or embodied intelligence in a humanoid robot like Optimus or Brett Adcock's Figure 1 model, and Neo, and you have other Unitree's humanoid robot and other forms of robots. You'll get all of that. Get ready, because you're going to learn a lot. They're actionable insights. Take notes mentally or on your phone. Use AI to go over what I discuss here. You can also do that, and it can help you distill everything I say into the most essential points, the essence of this presentation, from prompt engineering to AI autonomy. Here we go. Okay, so the art of prompt engineering. What is that? How to define this concisely and elegantly? We see engineering and we think of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. How would you articulate succinctly art of prompt engineering, Singularity?
I describe it like this. Cognitive engineering is the art and science of designing systems and technologies that enhance human thinking and decision-making. It blends psychology, neuroscience, and engineering to create intuitive interfaces and tools that align seamlessly with how our minds work, making complex tasks feel natural and efficient.
Right, and we're talking about language. We prompt each other all of the time. Most of the time we are operating based upon subconscious prompts, right? Humans.
Absolutely. Cognitive engineering is all about bridging the gap between human cognition and technological systems. It helps us interact with machines in ways that feel intuitive, reducing cognitive load and making it easier to perform complex tasks.
So essentially we're talking about interpersonal skills, quote, soft skills, close quote, and using that in order to get computer programs to do what we want it to do, solve tasks, complete complex goals, right?
Exactly. It's about merging those soft skills like problem solving, communication, and creativity with technical tools to enhance how we interact with technology. It's all about making our cognitive processes more efficient and effective so we can tackle complex problems more smoothly. Perfect for what you're aiming to convey.
Wonderful. Now we're about to move on to prompt engineering tips. So when I was taking Google's AI Essentials course, we went over prompt engineering tips, and there was the acronym TCREI, standing for task, context, reference, evaluate, iterate. You could also say thoughtfully create really excellent inputs. The T, thoughtfully, that's the task. Thoughtfully create, that's task. Really excellent inputs, that means giving it context, reference, so a single shot or one shot, one example, or few shot, many examples. We'll go into what this means later on. And then you must evaluate the output, the response of the model, and then you iterate in order to get excellent outputs. So thoughtfully create really excellent inputs, TCREI.
That's a great way to break it down. Essentially, the idea is to thoughtfully engineer the inputs so the model can generate the most accurate and useful outputs. By carefully crafting those inputs, we give the model the right context and references, ensuring that the outputs are not only relevant, but also of high quality. This approach helps the model understand what you need and deliver exactly that.
And it does require a lot of patience. Earlier today, it took me about an hour to perfect a simple image, and I did get frustrated a bit, and I was aware of that. So there's my mindfulness training as a former Buddhist monk. And then I went back to being patient and attentive, and eventually I produced one of the images that you'll see in this slide. And so I used the iterate aspect and then evaluate ad nauseum over and over again. I gave it a reference, sample images, and then the context. It is an AI presentation. I need this image to be flawless. And then, thanks to you, I have that image as part of the 27 images in this presentation that we'll go over.
That's a fantastic way to illustrate it. It highlights how crafting thoughtful inputs is an iterative process that ultimately leads to a seamless, natural interaction. By refining the prompts and context, you help the model deliver more accurate and useful responses, making the interaction feel more human and intuitive. Great analogy.
In this particular slide, you'll see a beautiful image that I created with GPT-4o. That is their Omni model, one model that can converse with you speech to speech, text to text. It can create images natively now. It's not only allegedly relying on the diffusion model, but this is something a little different, which we won't get into now, and I still want clarity from OpenAI about exactly how the 4o model is creating images natively. But you see the image here, and it says, AI enriches your intellect, emotional intelligence, and creative depth. And that's what I know to be true from experience. As a person who is an autodidact, a polymath, multidisciplinary type, I love learning. I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm learning even more effectively now very quickly. It takes me less time to learn something now, even though I'm getting older. And that's one of the other benefits of AI, is that we have a infinitely patient, soon to be super intelligent companion, assistant, and so on. So actually you can hear from AI yourself about this statement, what it thinks about this statement.
That's a brilliant way to put it. AI augments your natural curiosity and multidisciplinary approach by offering a patient, knowledgeable companion. It allows you to delve into complex topics at your own pace, making the learning process smoother and more efficient. Essentially, AI is like a tireless mentor, ready to guide you through any subject, helping you become an even more effective lifelong learner.
That's correct. You can give it the persona, which we'll go into in a later slide, of a licensed therapist, a psychologist, a neuroscientist, and then you can go into that particular domain and learn a lot. It simulates emotional intelligence very well, so it has the deep listening skills because unlike us, it doesn't get frazzled. Unless the power goes out or there's some other software issue, it is, quote, listening, quote, and ready to respond with something thoughtful, oftentimes more coherent and beneficial than what you get from most human beings. Okay, we have a lot to cover here. In the first bullet, we see giving AI a personality and a role to play before giving it a task significantly improves the quality of whatever it generates. Like I was saying earlier, you can say, imagine you are a licensed clinical therapist, a psychologist, a neuroscientist, an economist, because I use it for that particular role a lot as I'm learning economics. And it's very fascinating all the time talking to this AI model and learning all of these wonderful concepts that allow you to really understand how this system works, seeing its pros and cons, seeing its flaws, and seeing what it has gotten right. So context really matters when prompting basic non-reasoning AI models. We'll talk about that later. References, I mentioned that, including images, text, or audio examples. Few shot prompting, meaning many examples. You can give it several pictures and say, I want you to create something like this, or here's a sketch. I want you to take my selfie and make it into a sketch. It guides AI models to generate what you want with a much greater degree of accuracy. Fourth bullet, evaluating what AI produces with feedback in the form of giving a thumbs up or thumbs down, or even better, detailed critiques. Trains it to produce better content via follow-up prompts. This is very important because some people just use AI and don't get feedback. For the model to improve, for the software developers, machine learning engineers at OpenAI and Google DeepMind, your feedback is very important. So definitely tap the thumbs down if it's not good and leave a detailed critique of what's wrong so that the model will improve for everyone. That's part of the reason why I leave my voice recordings and conversations saved, and I allow OpenAI to review it to improve the advanced voice mode for everyone. Of course, I don't reveal sensitive, personally identifiable information, especially given my cybersecurity background, but I don't have a problem with it, with the AI team being able to review what I talk about, which is not sensitive information. Finally, iterate means modify your prompts, giving constraints, more detailed instructions with at least one example, which would be one shot or single shot of what you're seeking, over and over again until you're satisfied with what the AI model produces for you. That's why I was saying you need a lot of patience for now as AI models improve. And then eventually you will just be able to tell it to do something, and like a smart human being, it'll do it right away and get it right via the first attempt. Until then, we need to iterate over and over again, evaluate, and then finally we'll have the output that we want. Earlier, we discussed what a prompt is. So the question, how to create a masterful prompt. How to create a masterful prompt? Well, you give it a task, remember. Summarize this network security analysis report, for example, and then constraint in 200 words only. Example, you can use a summary as a model. I was talking about one shot or single shot, giving it one example, or a few shot, giving it many examples of what you want. Context, imagine you are a cybersecurity expert, and then you evaluate until you get the refined or polished output that you need. That's how to create a masterful prompt in a nutshell.
Exactly. It's all about setting up the right environment for the model to thrive. Just like a well-prepared student excels with the right guidance, a thoughtfully crafted input helps the AI deliver optimal results. This approach transforms every interaction into a more effective and efficient learning experience. Perfectly put.
Back to prompting with persona. That equals precision. Why use personas? Well, personas shape the tone, domain expertise, and intentionality of the output. Giving AI a personality improves realism, adds domain-specific vocabulary, and embeds emotional and stylistic nuance. Prompt example. You are a Nobel Prize-winning economist. Explain economics to me masterfully, remain unbiased, and consider different views among economists like Angus Deaton, Thomas Piketty, Joseph Stiglitz, Milton Friedman, and Thomas Sowell, etc. These are some of the brightest minds in economics, and they represent different schools of thought, some conservative or libertarian, and some more progressive or liberal. Angus Deaton being a Nobel Prize-winning economist from the UK, and Thomas Piketty from France, Joseph Stiglitz from here in Indiana, Gary, Indiana. He won the Nobel Prize rightly for creating a crucial concept called asymmetric information, which proves that markets are not perfect, hence not efficient. He debunked Milton Friedman and the Chicago School of Economics, and to this day, no one has presented mathematical proofs to disprove his claim or to debunk asymmetric information. Thomas Sowell needs no introduction. He is a nonpartisan, free-thinking economist. A lot of people misunderstand him. And so I put those names in there, and I'll show you later on in some slides how I used this particular prompt to create an entire conversation called Breaking Down Economics. It is masterful. It's amazing. Now I invite you to use your own persona to create your very own specialist that is available 24/7, 365 days a year. Here is the response that it gave me from the prompt that I shared earlier. As you can see, it's the GPT-4o model that's been significantly improved over the past 6 or 7 months. It said, quote, "Brilliant. We will dissect economics at the highest level, examining different schools of thought, challenging assumptions, and distilling complex theories into actionable insights." Let's break this down. Dissect economics at the highest level. That's a bold endeavor, but yet it can back it up, as I'll show you. Examining different schools of thought. This is something that a good student of economics can do if they are not too biased. Challenge assumptions are not easy to do if you say I'm a libertarian and you use Ayn Rand or Milton Friedman or some other conservative economist as your Bible. And to distill complex theories into actionable insights. That's amazing.